McLaren just recorded their first win in Bahrain and left the competitors in shock. Piastri, a young gun, crushed the field on his 50th race.
Oscar Piastri wins the Bahrain Grand Prix!
A reigning champ crumbled, and Ferrari, left scratching their heads. We saw record-breaking dominance, chaotic pit stops, surprise midfield heroes, and an F1 power shift no one was ready for. In this video, we're breaking down the shock Bahrain Grand Prix, Piastri's rise, Red Bull's mess, Ferrari's frustration, and what this all means for the championship fight. Are we witnessing the start of a McLaren era? Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around because what's coming next in F1 could flip everything on its head. McLaren didn't just win in Bahrain, they owned the grid. Oscar Piastri, calm as ever, dominated from pole, cruising to McLaren's first ever Bahrain win and doing it with style. A 15.5-second lead. That's not a win, that's a statement. And the cherry on top, this is their 22nd visit to Bahrain, and they'd never even led a lap here since 2007. Now they've taken all the laps that matter. Red Bull is in shock. Ferrari got caught flat-footed. This wasn't just a podium, this was both McLaren drivers on the podium. Lando Norris clawed his way to P3, even after a grid box penalty, keeping his lead in the drivers' standings. Meanwhile, George Russell snuck into P2 for Mercedes. But let's be real, this race was about papaya power. Ferrari tried to flex with new upgrades, but that soft tire decision at the start? But it didn't work. Red Bull had pit stop disasters and tire meltdowns. Bahrain was expected to be a challenge. Nobody expected this level of McLaren dominance. From the first lights to the checkered flag, McLaren ran the show. Bahrain 2025 might be the turning point in this title race. The grid's been warned, but let's talk about the mind-breaking new records that Piastri achieved. Oscar Piastri's Bahrain Grand Prix was a career-defining drive. On his 50th F1 start, the Aussie didn't just win, he owned the weekend. Pole, win, and fastest lap? That's a hat trick, and he's now the 49th driver ever to do it in a Grand Prix. Not bad for someone who debuted here just 2 years ago. This wasn't a fluke. Piastri's been climbing fast. This was his 4th career win, and he's now 2nd in the standings, just 3 points behind Norris. McLaren fans are buzzing, and for good reason. He's the first driver this season with multiple wins after also taking the top spot in China. And if you demand consistency, Piastri now has 30 straight point-scoring weekends. He's a metronome in a car that's firing on all cylinders. Bahrain's 2025 race saw the largest winning margin of the year. Nobody came close. He managed his tires like a seasoned veteran, showed maturity through every stint, and barely broke a sweat over 57 laps. 50 races in, and it feels like Oscar Piastri just arrived, and he has left Red Bull in a bit of a shock. For Red Bull Bahrain, 2025 was an absolute horror show. Max Verstappen, the winner of the Japan GP, slogged his way to P6.
And Verstappen improves to 6th position.
And he wasn't shy about what went wrong. In his own words, basically everything went wrong. We had a poor start. Too much wheel spin when I dropped the clutch, and then the first stint again, I had basically the same problems that I had in qualifying.
Basically everything went wrong. We had a poor start, too much wheel spin when I dropped the clutch, and then the first stint, again, basically same problems what I had in qualifying.
It started with a rough getaway, followed by tire overheating that left him slipping backward. But the real killer? Red Bull's pit stop tech failures. The pit light system glitched, staying red during Max's first stop. He lost precious seconds, dropped into traffic, and it only got worse from there. The second stop, even slower. Slapped with the hard tire compound for his second stint, Verstappen had zero grip. At one point, he was behind Ocon's Haas. Yeah, he was, but still Max managed to salvage 6th with a last lap overtake on Gasly. But the tone post-race said it all. He is frustrated, and Red Bull is worried. Christian Horner admitted the team's got brake issues, balance issues, and tire management problems, all exposed by Bahrain's abrasive surface. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings. Helmut Marko called the weekend alarming. And not just Red Bull, Ferrari also faced the same challenges. Ferrari rolled into Bahrain with upgrades and expectations. And while they showed flashes of competitiveness, the papaya stormed up front, leaving them watching from the outside. Charles Leclerc led briefly and brought it home in P4, while Lewis Hamilton salvaged P5, his best finish in red so far. But it wasn't enough. Hamilton owned up to his struggles and said, "On a positive, our car is clearly a lot better than what I'm delivering with it." And Charles Leclerc did a great job with it today, so big apologies to the team for not doing the job. Leclerc, meanwhile, pointed to a lack of grip as Ferrari's biggest issue. Not one specific corner, but overall traction. Team boss Fred Vasseur summed it up bluntly. "We had the potential to do better." Ferrari did look racier, but not race-winning. They're in the mix, no doubt. And while the top teams were battling drama, the midfield turned Bahrain into a chaos class. Let's start with Alpine. Pierre Gasly drove a quiet but clinical race to P7, giving Alpine their first points of 2025. He kept it clean, nailed the strategy, and held off serious pressure late on. Haas was the surprise of the weekend. Esteban Ocon recovered from a rough quali to finish P8, using early stops and perfect safety car timing. And how about Oliver Bearman? Started last, pitted under the safety car, slapped on the softs, and stormed to P10. That's 3 straight-point finishes for the rookie. And Yuki Tsunoda had a wild one. Collided with Sainz twice, avoided penalties, and still managed P9, bagging his first Red Bull points. Speaking of Sainz, he had the pace early but faded fast, eventually retiring after that second Tsunoda hit. It's not his weekend. Aston Martin and Williams were invisible as always. Kick Sauber, disqualified car, and rookie growing pains. Bahrain wasn't just about the front. This midfield isn't nasty. From P7 to P12, there's no breathing room. And on a day when the Giants stumbled, the midfield made sure every point mattered. So what's next after Bahrain shook up the season? One word: Jeddah. And after what we saw in Sakir, McLaren heads in as the clear title favorite. The car's fast, the drivers are locked in, and they're winning everywhere from pole to strategy to raw race pace. Norris leads the championship. Piastri is second. That's not luck, that's domination. But let's not write off Red Bull yet. Bahrain exposed them, yes, but this team knows how to develop fast. Horner's confident in upcoming updates. Verstappen's fuming. That's usually when he's most dangerous. If they get a handle on the balance and sort the pit light fiasco, they'll bounce back. Maybe not instantly. But don't sleep on Max. Ferrari, they're lurking. The upgrades helped. The drivers delivered. Jeddah could tell us more. If Leclerc finds that extra grip and Hamilton finds his quali mojo, they could leap. Is McLaren the real title favorite after this performance? Can Red Bull and Ferrari fix the cracks fast enough to stay in the fight? Drop your takes in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and don't miss out on the latest updates on Formula One content on our channel.